Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming to another video. All right. So I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I would definitely want to put this in the conversation box. Okay, so the announcer for the Washington Wizards, there was a game where they were playing against the Houston Rockets, and Kevin Porter Jr. hit him with a last-second shot. I mentioned it in one of the videos that I've made, but I didn't know that the commentator had said what he said at the time, so I didn't mention it. But the commentator for the Washington Wizards essentially said that Kevin Porter hit the last shot right on time, like his dad did. Now, here's the thing. Kevin Porter Jr., his father, was arrested, I believe, and convicted, though I'm not 100% sure how that went. So I'll just say allegedly accused of murdering a 14-year-old girl, right? Went through that process. I don't know how that played out, but later on, many years later, was then killed himself in a bar fight or something like that. So Kevin Porter Jr.'s dad, you know, in the shooting of the girl, you know, that situation is what was perceived to be what was referenced by the announcer. The announcer claims that he thought Kevin Porter was son of Cleveland Cavaliers great Kevin Porter. Different person, not related. Here's the problem. It's a lot of things that kind of go along with that, because Kevin Porter used to play for the Cavs. Larry Nance used to play for the Cavs. Larry Nance's dad played for the Cavs. So it's a lot of different things that could say, oops, there, in your head, to where you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's probably how it went. Kevin Porter, his name's Kevin Porter. I mean, it's easy to do that. The problem is, it's like as someone else said in a comment section, like a cosmic joke, to where in referencing Kevin Porter's actual father, you'll find out that he did take a shot, and that shot did take his 14-year-old girl's life, and that's obviously something that is a fireable offense. So LeBron James, you know, he saw the comment. You know how Bron do. He jump out the window, condemn it, quit. But my thinking, see, the way my mind worked, I'm more so going to look at the environment. Then I'm going to look at the man. Then I'm going to see how happy he is with his job. Does this announcer want to lose his job and be canceled for the rest of his life for saying something completely insensitive about somebody in the middle of a circumstance while they're doing something heroic? How many minds and hearts actually go to a place like that, in a moment like that? And if their minds and hearts go there, are they really going to say that in that moment? And then I have to re-ask myself, if they were to do that, what would they expect to happen? He would expect, a common sense individual, a smart individual would expect to be canceled in this era. It's 2022. This ain't 1992. If this were 1992, it would have been looked at a certain way. 2022, you damn near go to jail for something like that. Like, you got to face public flogging in 2022. A Caucasian man saying something like this on national television? And mind you this, it's a buzzer shot, so he knows that his commentary is going to be replayed for many, many moons. He knows this. Anybody who does any announcing for NBA basketball knows that there are certain moments, big dunks, big threes, big blocks, etc., where whatever you're saying in that moment is going to be replayed for as long as that moment is replayed. They're going to capture your voice saying whatever you say. So he knows that. He's watched the Wizards announcer. He's been in this game. I don't think that man is going to ruin his career to take a cheap shot joke at a player who just hit a game-winning shot. A cheap shot joke that would make fun of a 14-year-old girl's murder. I do not think that a person of sane mind is going to do that to themselves. He would probably do best to walk outside, scream the N-word at the top of his lungs, strip down to naked, and drop to the floor and roll on the ground a million times. He would have a better shot at being okay than what it is that he did. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's career suicide. particularly for a straight white male. And that's facts. So no, my mind didn't immediately jump to, oh my God, this guy was trying to be disrespectful. My mind jumped to, okay, what just happened? You know, when I heard the particulars and when I saw everything, I'm like, okay, that's crazy. But what's even crazier is the notion that he would actually do this. Doing it is crazy. The notion that he would do it is a different type of crazy for me. You know what I mean? It's the act. And then there's committing to the act and following through. I can't see a man like that committing to an act and following through. You're committing career suicide. You're committing life suicide. Your kids are going to have to deal with that at school because now you're the racist daddy, you know what I mean, who made fun of Kevin Porter Jr., who's a young star that all the kids are paying attention to and will be paying attention to because he's going to be a star in this league. And this is one of the moments in his career where he hit a big shot on the road. So as his career progresses and he accomplishes whatever he's going to accomplish, we're going to look back at this moment and we're going to remember what he said. He's not going to live that down, and I know he knows that. So why would he do it in the first place? He wouldn't. This is logic here. This is not what it looks like. I'm going past what it looks like, and I'm using my brain. Just as it pertains to certain other things in sports where I say, you know what, that doesn't make any sense. Even though it looks a certain way, it don't add up. This is one of those situations. I actually am buying what the announcer said about why he did what he did. I do believe he thought Kevin Porter Jr. was Cleveland Cavaliers' great Kevin Porter's son. It makes sense in a lot of different ways. Basketball player, same name, used to play for that team, All of that makes sense. Now, is it possible that he jumped out the window and said some evil stuff and didn't mind getting canceled or wasn't smart to realize he was getting canceled? Yeah, I can see one or two scenarios where that's the case. But in this era, on camera, first of all, I'm looking at the people who hired him. You really hired somebody who was that tone deaf and that racist? Nah. I refuse to believe that Ted Leonis and company, or does he still own the team? I'm not sure, but that the Wizards owners are that ridiculously tone deaf themselves as to allow someone to be a spokesperson for their company that wouldn't be able to smartly enough to discern in one of the biggest moments in a game's moment, the biggest moment in a game, not to say something completely and utterly disrespectful and belittling of a 14-year-old girl's passing. Never going to happen. I would rather use my brain, come to the conclusion that a mistake was made, than to actually commit to the idea that someone will commit to doing something as stupid, self-destructive, reckless, and evil as that. So as smart as Bron is, and I know he's intelligent, we have to use our brains before we use our mouths. And I'm not just speaking to Bron, I'm speaking to myself. We must put pieces together before condemning somebody, because it's easy to condemn somebody, bro. Just like somebody gonna come out and condemn you one day. They're gonna come out and say you did this, did that, and you gonna want somebody like myself to say, nope, let me look at all the pieces on the table here, see if it makes sense. Does it make sense for him to say it? No. Does it make sense for the people to hire him to hire a person who would say something like that? No. What happens to him if he does this? All bad. How does this have reflection and a reverberation across his lifestyle? Yes. It affects his kids. It could possibly affect his marriage. It could affect how his parents are doing, depending on how healthy they are. All of this gets affected by him jumping out the window and saying something so frivolously, disrespectful about a public figure in a big moment. It's too much that hurts him and his family and his lifestyle and his livelihood for me to think that he did that just to be tongue-in-cheek, or that he was so flippant as to just do that and then didn't realize the consequences. He's a Caucasian man in America. He's definitely aware of being canceled and the consequences of saying the wrong thing. In fact, in this era, they have to be overly sensitive to such things because of how harsh and how ridiculous those consequences are for saying the wrong things. We know that. Bron knows that. I know that. And another thing that kind of disappointed me is when it came out that he was claiming an excuse. You got to react to that to some degree. You can't just ignore to say the man's lying to fit the narrative. How about, you know what? Yeah, new information calls for new reaction. I'm reserving my feelings until I know exactly what happened there. That's the best thing for a man as big as Bron to do in this situation, rather than to double down on the condemnation when there's reasonable doubt. Because it's dangerous when other people do it to us, is it not? Especially when evidence has come out that there may be reasonable doubt. I need to then provide that reasonable doubt in my assessment as I judge. It's the only responsible thing to do. So I expect more from Bron in that way. I know that's not the thing that you expect to hear myself say, but it's just one of those things where it's like, there's reasonable doubt now. So we gotta be consistent when that comes into play. That doesn't mean that Bron is 100% wrong, because this dude could have very well did this, and he did do this, and it's a lot to look at. But I just think if you dig a little deeper, you think a little harder, you can clearly see where there's a whole lot of evidence for why this was a mistake. Because the fact of the matter is, he stands to lose too much from being so frivolous with his mouth. And there was a Kevin Porter who played for the Cavs, who was really, really great, who hit big shots. So it's not like there's no such thing as a Kevin Porter Sr. You know what I mean? There's no such thing. There's no... How do I say this? You know what I'm trying to say. The dude existed. So it's not like there's no reason to believe he did. So, yeah, man, that's what I got, man. That's what I got. You know, hopefully I'm right. Hopefully this man didn't just Molotov cocktail his entire career and put his family in awkward positions and put his organization in awkward positions and disappointing Kevin Porter with those harsh statements and disappointing the family of the person that Kevin Porter's father allegedly murdered with those statements. It's a lot of people that would be hurt by that. Very much hurt by that, especially the family of the victim. So I don't think he meant that. There's evidence to show he didn't mean that. And I'll just wait for the rest. So that's what I got, man. Hold off on the allegation condemnations. Please hold off, fam. There are a lot of things that can happen that'll make things look a certain way. And when those things happen to you, you're going to wish to God you had somebody like me who would dig a little deeper. So please be that for somebody else. My name is BDF44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.